I am back with a new spread. Actually, it's been a heavy time, and I actually went and made up a whole new spread to sort of help me understand what it is that was weighing on me and what I could do about it, with help from spirit. And so I'm going to share that spread with you today, and it involves 3 decks. So we've already got everything laid out here. If you have a problem with that, then I guess this reading isn't for you. But for those of you who are in my collective, this spread asks, what is weighing on me and what can I do about it? And I was out today doing what I do, and I kept hearing rock bottom, rock bottom. So, rock bottom is where you feel you are, where you feel you're trying not to get to, or are in denial about the fact that we are at rock bottom. And that's a hard thing to wrap our heads around. It's also, much like the Ten of Swords, it's also certainly this is rock bottom, but when we're there, the only way to go is up. As long as we keep going. There's something we used to say when I worked at the Science Museum, and that's failure is an option. And it's true in science, but it's also true in our own lives. Failure is an option because it provides us data that we can then use and try something different. And we're struggling with understanding that data, understanding why we're at rock bottom, or even accepting that we're at rock bottom right now. So I'm going to start on the left here, and this it's a 5 card spread times 3, so it's a 15 card spread, I guess. This first one is about the question, and boy, do we have questions. With each answer that arises, a new question will follow. The meaning of the journey is in curiosity, not in arriving at the answer. The journey from one question to the next is where the living happens. And then we have integrity above it. I lead with my values and they guide my path. And below that, we have the moth and eucalyptus, an ending. Something has come to an end here or is coming to an ending. And this is a big deal. The tone in this card that I'm feeling is just, it's like a funeral. It's like it's really heavy. It's not just like, my show is over. This is like something big, a dream, a goal that we had, that we were putting our everything into. Things have come to an end, and we're struggling with that. We're struggling with the idea that what we had put our heart and soul into is falling apart. But I think we're also struggling with a lot more than that. Um, where we are at, we're also reviewing our own actions and behavior in this. And I think understanding, or having a hard time understanding that we have not led with our values and our integrity in this situation. And I think it's very overwhelming, and very heavy, to try and grasp this situation falling apart, try and understand why it fell apart, try and understand how we got here. And there is a benefit in, looking back where we came from so that we can take the failures and the missteps that we've had and apply them moving forward so that we're doing something different. We are not doing what didn't work over again. But in this situation, it feels really heavy. And the sunk cost fallacy came up again. It's like we tried and tried and tried and tried. And I keep seeing it's like a falling tower and somebody's scrambling to try and push the bricks back up, but it's already crumbling. And it's very heavy. And it's very hard to accept. And where we were with this, self acceptance begins How did we get here? Self-acceptance begins with the awareness that the negative thoughts you have about yourself are not fact, and that you are capable of shifting your perspective around them, crowned with communication and underneath the duck and chrysanthemum, luck. So there's a sense here that you put your all into this. Certainly, you worked very hard and tried very hard to make this happen and not come to an end. But in this, you compromised your own values. And it seems that the reason why this happened, I don't know that this situation was particularly aligned for you to begin with. There's a sense that you thought this, having not so good ideas about who we are, not feeling self-love, struggling with feeling that we are worth something. I just also heard, feeling like we're not good enough on our own and we have to ride somebody's coattails in order to get where we want to be. But this was an important opportunity for you, but it may not have been in alignment, and I don't think it was. But where you were with this was thinking, this is the best that I can get, so I'm going to stick with it. You felt like you were lucky to have this opportunity, even though it really wasn't aligned with you 100%. You felt like you were lucky to have it. And because of, the self-deprecating attitude towards yourself, you did not communicate your needs in this. You didn't communicate your boundaries, and there was self-sacrifice around achieving this goal. And I am being very nebulous because this is a collective reading. It will apply, if it applies, to a lot of different circumstances, whether it's a project or a job or a relationship. You didn't communicate your needs, and you put yourself on the back burner in order to make this a success. And I think you also did not communicate your reservations, your fears, or your objections, because you didn't believe in yourself. You didn't believe in your own judgment. I'm really familiar with how it feels to be scapegoated as a child. You be the scapegoat, and everybody tells you everything's your fault, right? You start to believe it. You start to believe that other people are more capable of doing things that you are, and you haven't quite yet figured out why things keep messing up around you. And the reason why things keep messing up around you is because you don't believe in yourself. You're not putting your trust and faith with you. You have abandoned yourself entirely and have placed that externally in others around you, and given up your power, given up your control. And where you worked very hard to make this happen, it still fell apart. And that's because it wasn't aligned with you. But you're struggling at this moment because you feel rock bottom is a hard place to be. And I think you're realizing or struggling to grasp that you did not act in integrity with yourself. You did not stick to your values in trying to achieve this or trying to make this work. And that's weighing on you. And it's, for some of you, it's really hard. And we are reviewing and mulling over everything in our mind, trying to figure out what went wrong, trying to figure out why this didn't work. This should have worked. Why didn't this work? But we're not going within. So it's a very logical outward sort of examining the structure and the function of something without looking at the intention, the passion, the creation, and what we put into it. And what we put into it was self-abandonment, and deferring to somebody else's ideas, opinions, beliefs. You don't need to feel that way about yourself. Um, Self-acceptance here and understanding that you are capable, that you do deserve to have your needs met, to communicate your reservations and have them taken seriously. You know, with anybody involved, you absolutely deserve to be heard, but you sacrifice that for an end goal here. And here in this situation, where are you sitting with this? Whenever you find yourself thinking no one understands, know that someone somewhere is having the exact same thought. You are not alone. Salamander and black pepper, inspiration, boundaries. I decide what limits are acceptable, and I confidently and powerfully ask for what I want. This felt amazing and good and wonderful at the beginning, and as time went on, it is clear that it started to go in a way that you were not comfortable with and did not speak up and allowed your boundaries to, dropped your boundaries, allowed your boundaries to be crossed for the sake of an end goal. End goal here, it was like we're focusing on the end goal and everything will be okay once we reach that, instead of looking at where we are in the present and how we really feel about it. How do we feel right now? How do we feel day in, day out? Are we constantly worrying about this? Is it making our mind swirl? Are we sleeping? Are we eating well even? It's when that kind of stuff happens that you have to take a step back and really, really ask yourself, how good is this for me to keep pushing, to keep trying to do this when it's tearing me apart inside? And it's not about making it work on the outside if what it's going to do is just tear you up inside and prevent you from even enjoying the moment, having that fulfillment in the moment, finding that peace and joy. It should be enjoyable to do this, not it will be enjoyable someday once we get there. You'll never get there. And there was a lot of inspiration, and I think there was a lot of hope and a lot of energy and a lot of time and a lot of positive thinking at the beginning of this. But now it's crumbling, and there's some shame here, and we feel very alone. We feel like we can't talk to anybody about this, or the people that we might want to talk about this to aren't going to understand. I think you might be surrounded by people who have the same kind of patterns of behavior, and you're seeing the end result of leaning into that, and allowing your needs to be put to the side, or putting your own needs to the side. So people pleasing, and that isn't, being kind and nice and trying to do things for people. This is a trauma response. People pleasing is a trauma response. It is not just being nice and trying to make everybody happy. It's a trauma response, and I think that's what we're starting to realize, or having trouble coming to the acceptance of for some of you, is that where I'm at with this and letting go of my needs and my concerns and not speaking up is a pattern for me. This is a pattern. This is something that I've been doing for a while. But in the moment, it feels like you're very alone in this. And you are definitely not the only person to be faced with this. And it isn't, there's a thought about assigning fault here. Like, this is my fault because I didn't do this, I didn't do that. And that's also part of the toxic pattern, is what I'm hearing. It's not about finding fault and finding something to blame. It's not about finding that answer, right? It's not about, figuring out what to firmly point the finger at as the problem, as that answer, as that solution. It's not about that at all. It's about tuning into yourself, tuning into how you're really feeling in the moment when you're going through this. when you're struggling with this stuff, when you were in this situation, and really, really looking at why you chose to, let others choose or decide or not speak up about your discomfort or not speak up about your reservations on certain decisions or certain choices. And there's a bit of shame in there. And I don't want you to be ashamed. This is a very, very uncomfortable situation. I don't feel from this reading that, this falling apart is something that is going to completely shake up your life. In other words, make you unsafe. Because I think you are, for the most part, you're solid. It's not like you're going to lose your house or your car, or anything like that. It's a failure of a project. Hold on. Didn't want to cough in your face. As I was saying, it's a failure of a project. It's a failure of a partnership. It's a failure of a relationship. It's a failure of something that you worked really hard on. And I I really think that you're pointing the finger at yourself and trying to blame yourself. Um, and you feel very alone in this because, like I said, the people around you are the kind of people who want to point the finger at something as the primary cause of everything, and that tends to be you. You're feeling alone. You're feeling sort of lost in shame, and we're spinning around and around trying to make sense of it. But you are in a place that is very uncomfortable, and that means you are in a place that's ripe for growth and change and healing. And in that, it's about examining what it is that you deserve, which is a hell of a lot more than you're giving yourself credit for. You deserve better than this. You thought this was the best that you could get. It was an option at the time, but you sort of have reduced yourself again to, not being enough. And now that we're at this place where things are falling apart, like I said, there's shame involved here. And it's something that we need to let go of. So forgiveness. This is sort of like the outcome where things are headed. Forgiveness right on top. Others may not forgive you, but it's really important for you to learn to forgive yourself. Very, very important for you to learn to forgive yourself. You are having a hard time reflecting on this, accepting the ending, letting things fall away. You feel like you're to blame. It's not about blame. It's not about finger pointing. It's about forgiving yourself for being human, for making mistakes, for not knowing what you didn't know, for not investing in yourself as much as you feel like you wanted to, or now you feel like you wanted to, for not believing in yourself and enough and letting others lead you down paths that did put you in a place where you have not stood in your integrity, led with your values, and embraced being in those values at all moments. I'm willing to forgive myself and others. Forgiveness is freedom, and that is the truth. Forgiveness is not for others. Forgiveness is for you. Forgiveness is, if somebody hurts you, I'm used to making my own closure because people don't apologize. I still work on forgiveness because I don't want to carry that resentment with me. I want to let that go. It is freedom when we do not forgive, when we're not, especially when it comes to ourselves, especially when it comes to ourselves. It's a weight that we carry and it drags us down, and that again, that will definitely generate those self-deprecating thoughts that will lead us to lower our boundaries, not communicate our needs, and and then watch something that we were hopeful and excited about fall apart. You are a beautiful place to call home. Home is where you sit. It is in the beats of your heart and the warmth of your hands. the dragonfly and pansy, balance. Here is the good news. Please do not give up. And please know that this is not about blame or fault. This is about understanding how to value yourself, um, understanding how beautiful and incredible and courageous and creative and everything that you are as a human being. You are everything just in yourself. You have everything. I think this is also scary because this is something that it's something that maybe we worked on for a long time or were involved in for quite a while. And it's scary. The future is scary, but this is also bringing things into balance for you. So I'm looking at this dragonfly and pansy card. I'm seeing the pansies, and I'm thinking immediately of the singing ones from Alice in Wonderland, the Disney version. So if that resonates with you, that might be a sign for somebody here. I'm seeing blues. I'm seeing greens. Green is a color of renewal and growth. This is about growth. You know, like I said, that crumbling, we can rebuild from that. We can build better, and we can rebuild in a way that is more aligned with us and our needs and our wants and our values and our integrity. Green is a color of renewal. Things will begin again. So do not give up hope. It is just going to take some time looking inside and really from a much more loving perspective, from a much more self-appreciative perspective. You made it through this, and please understand that this failure is an option because this was not working for you in the first place. This was not going to ever end up in a place that would have felt good for you. And so it is finding that balance within yourself. Green is renewal. Blue is the color of angels, and blue is the cleansing energy. And so we are clearing out old energies and old patterns. We're letting that go. We are removing that and reassessing and clearing out the old gunk, the old way of looking at ourselves and abandoning ourselves. And we are renewing our trust and our faith in ourselves and finding forgiveness for ourselves, and in that finding freedom. And the last card here in this combo is advice. It's advice from Spirit. Understanding what nourishes you will allow you to fill your orbit with uplifting and supportive energy. Experience. My senses are alive. I am present in each moment. And below, the raccoon and sycamore. Curiosity. Understanding what nourishes you will allow you to fill your orbit with uplifting and supportive energy. There is a difference between excitement and true support and being uplifted and fulfilled. Excitement or nervousness, something that makes you feel fluttery and gives you energy, and it's mistaking feelings of excitement and threat for something wonderful. And I mentioned people pleasing. That's the trauma response too. We get those wires crossed in our head. And so what we think is amazing because it's exhilarating and thrilling and all this other stuff can actually be something that's not good for us. And our body is signaling this by setting off those butterflies and that tension and that nervousness and the thinking and the ruminating. And that's because it's not really something that is nourishing to us. What's nourishing and what's loving and what's supportive helps us return to our center. It's calming, it's steadying, it helps us feel grounded, it helps us feel peaceful in the moment. And I think that's something you're aware of. My senses are alive. I am present in each moment, experience. Spirit is saying, time to experience something different. Spirit really wants you to take a look and reflect on this, because this was running yourself ragged and abandoning yourself, and not a failure because you didn't try hard enough or you didn't make the right choices or anything like that, but because this situation didn't nourish you. It wasn't uplifting, it wasn't supportive, it caused worry, it caused fear, it was painful. And I love that we have this raccoon in the sycamore tree who is looking at the dragonfly and the pansy balance. Be curious about renewal and cleansing and what brings you back into that balance in yourself. Be curious about that. Be more curious about things that bring you peace, help you feel safe and stable. Be more curious about that than you are about, things that make you feel excited. I just had a hit. So there is, when we're in toxic situations or toxic relationships, we can be addicted to, the conflict and then relief cycle. Like, we push through the conflict um, and we're addicted to the sense of relief that we get from, abandoning whatever. Give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. I'm just going to read this. Addiction to the relief following conflict is often rooted in past trauma, chaotic environments, and involves a compulsive cycle of creating drama in order to experience the subsequent intense chemical surge of calm. The adrenaline detox or relief phase temporarily masks the deep-seated emotional pain or anxiety. It is, avoiding the truth of what we're struggling with. And this is what I'm seeing. It was like drama, it was like excitement, it's running yourself ragged. It is thinking that, hustle and go, 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 is what we have to do. And then finally we get, to that place where we have that calm and get an intense release. And sometimes that's all we've known. You're being asked to really expand your idea of what is nourishing and what is simply maintaining this toxic cycle of drama and calm and release from it. Drama and calm, drama and calm, because it should not be like that. What actually nourishes you? What really nourishes you? What allows that safe and calm feeling to remain? It can be really hard to break out of that cycle because it's addictive, because there is, that adrenaline rush and then the adrenaline detox. If that's all we know, it can feel wrong, it can feel uncomfortable, it's just different. And it's really important for you to examine the ways that you abandoned your own self-care. And I think there's also pushing away people who are more of a safe, who are nurturing, who are more safe, who can create that calm. What I said earlier about Whenever you find yourself thinking no one understands, know that someone somewhere is having the exact same thought. You are not alone. The people around you have encouraged this cycle. The people who do nourish you, the ones who make you feel safe, are ones that you're discarding because it's not familiar. But they're also the ones who would understand. Remember that. And if you need to reach out to somebody and talk and get some perspective, think about the people who do feel solid and stable and safe. You know, maybe the ones you've discounted in the past because you, for whatever reason, maybe they were too boring, or they were, you know, too nice, or something. But it's time for you to have different experiences. You can heal this cycle, and one of the best ways to heal and change those neural pathways is to have different experiences. Start allowing yourself to experience something different, and that is going to rewire your brain. Be curious about what it feels like to be balanced and peaceful and feel that stable safeness, not just, you know, once we've escaped the drama, but on an ongoing basis, because it is there, it is in that moment, it is where you sit. Home is where you sit. It is in the beats of your heart and the warmth of your hands. In that moment is where you will find that. I hope that helps. Love you. Bye.